time. Hello, happy Tuesday. I am so excited to be chatting with you guys. Girl Wash Your Face, that's what we're going through these 2 weeks. I just kind of did my highlights through the book, and I'm just sharing in each post like what my takeaways were, but I'm really enjoying watching you guys and reading what your takeaways are, whether you're reading the book or not. And I think that's kind of what's cool about it, is you don't have to be reading it in order to feel connected to the content, if that makes sense. This is exciting. I'm going to her house, Rachel Hollis's house, on Thursday to hang out with her at a garden party in LA, and then going to her conference on Friday and Saturday. So stay tuned, because I cannot wait to share thank you. I can't wait to share like what I learned from her through this conference and with meeting her. So kind of cool timing. I'm really, really excited about that. So yes, Jenny, definitely put it on your reading list. But the cool thing is with this is like, you can just see the post and it's enough. I feel like I kind of just do like an overview of what my top takeaways were with it. And there's a couple chapters in there about being a mama, and I'm not a mom, but I still took takeaways from it. So it was really great. Okay. Hey, Allie, I'm so excited that you're on. Natalie, I'm so excited you're on. I want to talk about what's going well. What are you struggling with? What questions do you have? Maybe you have some victory. I'm on day 2 of no sugar. And today, what did I want? Sugar. So I drank my water instead and just kept going. And I was like, man, it's such a mental thing. This is what I want to share. Natalie, you really inspired me by this today. She sent me an email, like literally I could like feel your success through the email. It was so exciting. I was like so smiley after I read it. And Natalie said, how can I never feel like this? Like, am I going to not feel like this ever? Like, it feels way too good. And the really like real thing about it, you guys, is you're going to have days that are just like unstoppable. And then you're going to have days that like hit you like a ton of bricks. Then you're going to have some days where you're motivated and then not motivated. And you're just going to have to work through your hard, but celebrate what's really doing what's great. And I said to Natalie, I said, when you do go through a day where you're not on your game and you're struggling, you're full of temptations, maybe self-doubt. Today, I feel like I was in my head all day. And I was just like, this is frustrating. I know how to get out of my head, but I just allowed myself to loom there a little bit. Is connect to the wins that you've had. Connect to this journey that you're on, because I think we just try to go through that perfectionism of like, every day has to be awesome. And that's not the case. I really think we grow when there's pain. It's kind of like a muscle. When you feel sore, that's good. Like that means that you are stressing out your muscle. So then it's gaining strength, right? So just in life, I feel like pain, struggle, obstacles are 1, a sign of life, but then 2, a sign of you becoming stronger. Because what I noticed is that anytime I feel defeated, anytime I'm struggling, I look back and I'm like, compared to 4 years ago, like this is nothing. And so I can like use that. So every time you have those wins, because people can get really down on themselves that they follow a program for 19 days and then they get off track and then they're like, it's the end of the world, I suck. And it's like, no, that's not what this is about, right? This is just about making a conscious choice to be better each day. And not every single day is going to be all roses. But I think when you can connect to the community, lean on them, I think it's easy to like bring your old past of like complaining negativity to a positive space, to want to be consoled and like, oh, it's okay, you're struggling. But I think what our group really is like, hey guys, I'm struggling and I'm getting it done today because I'm watching you guys get it done today. That's more empowering than being like, today sucked. It's more empowering when you're like, it has been rough, but like I'm going to do something about it. And the kind of culture we've created in these groups is very much that. So I just want you guys to remember that don't fake it. Like, don't be like, oh, like, because I think there's like false expectations. If you see people constantly rocking it, then you think there's something wrong with you. That's not the case. They're just finding the group extra motivating. They're just finding the group positive. So they want to be positive in that group. So it's not that their journey is perfect. Mine's not either. You guys, I still haven't worked out today. Gonna do it though, because I'm good for my word and I follow through. But I'm just saying, like, it can look a certain way than what it really is. But I think it's cool that we can come to the group and be more positive than outside of it, if that makes sense. So that's kind of my takeaway on that. And I'm just really proud of you. I love that you guys are sharing your victories. I think what I love the most is when I like go through your answers and I see like 5 love buttons on someone's answer. And I'm like, that's so cool that they took the time to read through their answer or took the time to show them some love. Like that is what this is about. Anytime you feel victorious, go share that in the group. Maybe you're like, oh, I'm sharing too much. That's not the case. Like I feel inspired when I see that you guys are crushing it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to drink my water. And then when I see everyone else is peeing all the time too, then it makes me laugh. So I just feel way more connected when you're like sharing your journey, which is really cool. So you can unmute. You can type in the comments if you want to, but what is something that like you just are like so empowered, you feel empowered by? Maybe it's the messages from Girl Wash Your Face. Maybe it's a challenger. Maybe it's like you overcame an obstacle these last 2 days, week, whatever it's been. For me, I would say my victory right now, I would say is, I should have thought about this before I asked it because now I have to think about it. I just feel like I feel so good seeing all of you guys try. I had a moment today where I was like, how come I didn't start this journey sooner? And it's because I was not afraid. I didn't want to put in the work that I knew and the effort that I knew it would take to get the results I craved. I literally, like, I was so exhausted. I was so tired. So I was willing to lean on those excuses, even though I craved change, because I knew I would have to put in the work. And now I look back and I'm like, whoa, once I just decided to put in the work because it wasn't really like that crazy, it's changed my whole life. And I think like I'm so proud of that. And I had that realization today where I was like, dang, like 4 years ago, it was because you were so exhausted is the reason you didn't do something. And then you worked through that exhaustion and you became more energetic. So I'm really proud of that because being a teacher is so exhausting. All right, I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to mute myself. There might be some awkward silences, which is fine. And I'm just going to tough it out and drink my water. But seriously, like, what are you empowered? What are you feeling empowered by? What are you excited about? Where are you finding grace and love in your journey? What is something cool that's happening? And I want you to share. This is a safe group. We're not going to bite. It's going to be amazing. So I'm literally going to hit mute and we'll just wait here.
Okay, I'll go. I'm always the one to go. Okay. So I've been like, I started, I don't know when, maybe like a week or two ago, sharing just stuff on my Instagram and my Facebook stories just about what I'm doing. And it's been kind of fun actually, just like sharing my daily life because like people I haven't talked to in a really long time are reaching out to me. And I'm kind of overwhelmed, but in a good way, by like the amount of people that are messaging me like out of the woodworks that I didn't even know were watching. And they're like telling me what what they have going on with their fitness and like whether it's like really good, really bad. It's just awesome. And it's like, I don't know, it's good that I have support from people I didn't even realize I have support from. And it makes me feel really good and it makes me want to keep doing that. And like I was saying earlier, I felt like maybe I'm annoying people, but like those people don't need to watch it. Like if it's annoying them, they have the choice to like exit out, you know? So that's been really cool. And it's pumping me up. Like it makes me want to work out. And that's another thing. Like I think people sometimes think someone's showing off by working out, but like when I post, it's not perfect. I say like it's hard because it is like, and like I get really good feedback and stuff. And it like motivates me to do it because like I'm posting it. So like I'm going to do it as well as I can.
That's freaking amazing. And I just have to say, me, when I started sharing my journey too, and like all of you ladies are all different walks, like you don't do what Rachel does or I do, like you do you. But what I found is that and you can even do this in the group, when I started sharing it, I was like, crap, I need to follow through. Like I'm that type of person where I'm like, people like expect failure, and I'm like, I'm not gonna fail. And it kept me accountable to actually get it done. And like it was almost like a game of like, okay, like I got to be good for my word and show up today. One, awesome. And I always say, join me or delete me. Like either be inspired and empowered by what I'm saying, or just don't follow me anymore, whatever, like to each his own. But I feel so good showing other people that they can do it too. That's amazing, Rachel. All right, I'm muting myself again. Rachel, you're amazing. I love that. That has to feel so good, like connecting with some other people.
Yeah, and to bounce off of that too, I have a few people that I've reached out to, and they're like, "Oh, like I've low key been creeping on you," and I'm like, "Creep away! Like I don't care. Like I would if I didn't want people to see it, then I wouldn't be posting it. You know what I mean? So especially in the stories when I'm posting my workout, they're like, "Oh, I've been creeping, but it motivates me to work out." So I'm like, "Do whatever you need to do. Like if my awkward workout is going to get you to work out, or like resting bitch face is going to get you to work out, then go ahead." I was actually just talking today to a challenger who gets like really amped up and gets ready to go. And she's just like, it's time for me to make a change. And then does a 180. And she's like, I'm really comfortable with myself now. And so it was actually a conversation that I had with her a couple of hours ago, that it was a realization that I had with myself, that I'm just tired of being tired, and not just only being tired of being tired, but also like sick of being sick. There's clothes that I've had in my wardrobe that I'm like, okay, I'm going to put this on today. Nope. Back to leggings, whatever. And, with her, I was talking about the fact that, on one hand, of course, you got to give yourself grace. If you want that piece of chocolate, go for that piece of chocolate. But don't eat chocolate all the time, right? And so, on one hand, you're going to say like, hey, is this chocolate just really just going to like satisfy me, get me through the day? Or is it going to like, am I just going to eat the entire bag and then it's going to hold me back? So I was talking to her today that my new motivation isn't necessarily because I want to feel good sometimes, it's because I want to feel good all the time. And I don't want to worry about taking 1,000 pictures just to find the one that looks acceptable, and stuff like that. So that's kind of my little kick that I'm on right now.
I think that's huge. Like the thing that I got from that was, I think comfort is such a hard thing, because again, I think like being pushed outside your, like I just said, the thing that stopped me from starting sooner was that I knew it would take work and effort, and that I would have to like change habits that I became okay with. Like I became okay with going to Starbucks all the time, and like not realizing, one, how much money I was spending, but two, like what it was actually doing to my body. Like it was almost like it was like a disconnect of like, oh, whatever. Like, it's like I was so intentional with not caring that clearly I suppressed it so much that like it did bother me, but not enough to like make the change. But I think honestly, like as women, I think it's really easy to like, because something gets a little bit uncomfortable or a little bit hard or a little challenging or pushes you outside your comfort zone, it's so much easier to retreat back to what wasn't working for us and wasn't working and making us feel good, but we almost like make excuses for like, but I'm okay. And I think that like my mom always would say like, Juliana, I didn't realize like you struggled so much, is what she'd say after she's watched me these last 4 years. And I was like, Mom, neither did I. I had no idea, because I literally made it okay. Like I didn't realize, because now I feel so good. Now my mindset is so different. Now I have more energy. Now I sleep well. I feel less stressed. Like those Sunday nights as being a teacher is like grueling. And then like I stopped feeling that way over the course of time. And I started to like fight for my self-care more. I learned how to say no to things. And I was like, but I didn't realize, because it's like when you're living in a certain mindset, you don't know how to like think otherwise until you kind of start to shift out of it. And then and I think that's why we struggle when we get off track. It's because when we feel good and we have those fist pumping days, then you get back to like old habits. It's painful, because you know what good is, and you know what healthy is, and you know what like amazing is. And I think that's what makes this journey like so difficult in a way, but you have to realize like you're just going to keep like inching yourself forward. But Laura, it's so true. Like where it's like, it's so much easier to be like, you know what? No, I'm totally okay with being okay. And it's like kind of one of those things where it's like, I always think of it like, what if I were to be like, hey, you guys, do you want to jump on a mediocre Zoom? Like, do you want to be in a mediocre boot camp? Like, do you want to come to like, and do you want to do an average workout? Do you want to get average results? Like, do you want to like get average energy back? Do you want to eat average food? Do you know what do you want to be around average people? And it almost like when we make those excuses, like that's kind of what we're doing without like, it sounds silly when you label it like that. But when we go back and revert to those habits that are like kind of mediocre, it doesn't sound as good when you put average to it. Like you guys would not want to come to my house if I was like, do you want to come to my average like house with my average husband and like do average things? Like that's not appealing. And so I'm really proud of you, Laura, for one, like talking with her about that, but two, recognizing that you had done that too, because I have. Like I identified with that. And I think that's what's cool about this is you guys like when you're struggling, that's why this group is so important, because when you want to go back to what wasn't working for you, will be the reason why you don't. Or like, and if you do kind of go back, will be the reason why you don't stay there. And I think that's why this is so important, because it's like, it's seriously like a rubber band, you know, and you're fighting through those old habits. And that's why this is like so important. And so I'm really glad you brought that up, Laura, because I think that like one, I feel like we need to make a post to the boot camp about that, because it's like, it's so true where we can breathe belief into each other when we're having self-doubt, when we are struggling, when our workouts aren't going well, like when we're really just like, maybe life happens, something happens with your family, like, and just like, how do you work through that? And I mean, like a year ago, I worked through a really hard situation in my life. And it's like, I can't believe I chose self-care through that, because it was so hard to, but it was because of these groups that I chose to show up for myself, even when I wanted to dig myself in a hole. And so we can just breathe so much belief into. Natalie said, I have trouble with that line, especially with my finances. I deserve this, but I can't. Oh, wait. I gotta go up. I see what you're saying. Treat yourself. I think people are confused by self-care is treat yourself becomes eat the whole bag. Yes. I have trouble with that too, especially with my finances. I deserve this, but I can't afford it, so I don't really need it. I need something different than I might. Yes, exactly. It's like justification, or like where we want to create balance in our life, and like where I don't know if life is really a balancing act when you, because I feel like self-care improves. So let's go with coaching. Some people will be like, how do I balance coaching with my family or my work? How do I do coaching and working? And I go, I don't really think it's a balancing act, because I think what we do in these boot camps influences each part of your life for the better. I always talk about, I want to get fit in every area of life, right? I want to help women get fit in every area of their life, because I truly believe when you surround yourself with a community and have a discussion such as this to be better, like that makes you want to be better. So then it makes you want to be a better teacher. It makes you want to have better finances. It makes you want to have a better health, makes you want to. So I feel like this influences that. So, but what happens in that, like almost like Grant Cardone says this, and it's not financial. We think of middle class, we think financially. Don't think middle class financially with me right now. Think middle class in the sense of like, I make enough to have enough. I am able to have the house. I'm able to have a decent job that like at least pays the bills, right? So like middle class or average or like whatever. And he pushes that a little bit, and he's like, no, like you can actually have more without being a selfish person. You can actually have more that will create less stress in your life and allow you to give more blessings in life to people, right? So, but what we do as a society and what we do as women, I think, is we justify this like 80-20, or like it's just a balance. Like where I was listening on a call and it's like, no, like if you've spent 27 years punishing your body, you shouldn't still be like, but it's a balance. Like I can do this and then have this. Like, no, you have to like reverse what you've done for 27 years and get to a solid point where you literally transform. And like, if it is the 35 pounds or whatever, then I'm not saying don't eat the piece of chocolate. That's not what I'm saying, but don't eat the whole bag, right? Where we kind of go through this justification of like, oh, like if I do this. And Natalie, I think that's a huge thing where it's like, I think it comes all down to limiting beliefs and that we're not enough. And so like a lot of times, like the time where we spend our time, how we spend our money, what we treat our body as, like whatever, all comes down to how we really feel about ourselves. Where I feel that way, my number one old limiting belief was money was hard to come by. So then I would be like, you know what? Making $900 every 2 weeks, like that's okay. And then what I started to realize, I was like, there has to be something more, because that just doesn't seem right. Where I am literally emotionally, physically, mentally exhausted. I'm stressed. I feel like I have no time for anyone else. I literally can't sleep. Like, at what cost? At what cost is that okay to live like that? And I'm not trying to be a selfish person. I'm not trying to be better than anyone, because I have the philosophy that no one is better than me and I'm better than no one. But beyond that, like, I think it's like Christian guilt of like, oh, like, no, like, I can't, like, it's just such a like psychological thing where I'm like, man, but like, actually, when you do spend time in self-care, you're happier. So then what happens to the people around you? They become happier. Or what happens if I do start making an extra $500 a month? What would that do in my life? Like, how would that impact my life? How would that make me better? Investing in a workout for 30 minutes a day, what would that do to my life over time? And again, we want to create that culture, but it's balance. Like, so if I only work out this day, like, no, right? Like, so that's really cool. And I challenge you to like think more about that as in your life, where are you creating compromise that you shouldn't be creating compromise? You know what I mean? And I think what the hard thing is, like, what do you do after that? And I think it's just like making that list of what you don't want and what you do want. And wherever you're creating compromise in your life, or maybe even Rachel Hollis said, breaking promises to yourself, like, where are you feeling the most stressed or that? And like, how is that benefiting you in the sense of your health and your family and your friends and your relationships and your work? Is that helping you become a better person, or is that creating some kind of burden and obstacle? And I do believe everything is figure outable. I'm not really sure. I don't really think that's a word, but I am going to coin it as one, where I think that no matter situation where we are in our lives, you guys, whether we're financially feeling broke, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, whatever, where we're feeling broke, I think everything is fixable. And I think everything can be worked on for the better. And again, I really do, where it starts is one, action and belief, and two, surrounding yourself with a community of people who actually want to be better. I think it's really easy if you surround yourself with people who want to stay in that like mentality we've been talking about. It's really hard to want to push out of that when everyone's okay with like being okay, if that makes sense. It always felt like guilt thinking about self-care and treat yourself, because it feels like being selfish in some part of in society. Yeah. And ironically compromising, but true self-care is necessary. Absolutely. I always would say, like, there's a difference between being a servant and a slave in the ministry. Like, it's just like, there's just such a, like, I struggled with that when I worked as a teacher, where I was like, at what cost? Because I'm not even my best self right now. Like, I'm struggling, and like, at what cost is this even okay? And we put so much pressure on ourselves that we need to serve everybody else, and then we're the last. And I just don't see how that works. It's like the airplane method of, if the plane is going down, even if you have a kid with you, you must put the oxygen on yourself first in order to help the people around you. And I think self-care, self-seeking, like, whatever, I feel like for like significance is totally different than like genuinely self-care so you can be a better person. Like, where people might crave significance and want how many followers and likes and whatever in life, like, I feel like that's totally different than like, I genuinely know when I get better sleep, I'm a more patient teacher. I know that when I have more energy, like, I have this. And I think as women, like, we all really struggle with that, because we are givers and we serve and we want to be the best. But it is so vital that, one, we put up boundaries, and two, like, we create that culture of how do we become better. Wow, that was like really powerful and wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. Does anyone want to comment on what we were just talking about? We kind of got raw and real with average thinking, and that makes people feel uncomfortable. In the last 4 years, that's something that I've greatly talked about over social media in groups with the people that I work with and mentor. And it challenges people to either feel really uncomfortable and hate the word average, in the sense of like, they want to fight for being average. I specifically had someone that said, I don't see what's wrong with like binge watching TV all day. And I said, whoa, like, I don't mind watching TV, but I think there's more to life than that. So like I've challenged people, not because I wanted to, but they didn't want to like think that there was something more to life. Like because that's what they've been doing for however long, which is something I used to avidly do. And there's no judgment, but it's like people want to fight to be mediocre and I don't. And I just want to help and live our best lives. So it's interesting and can make people feel uncomfortable. So I thought that was a good discussion. But Laura, Rachel, Crystal, hi, Jellymar, Allie, Jenny, do any of you ladies want to add on that? Or something that stuck out to you? Something that made you feel uncomfortable with that? Something challenges you?
Can I continue your tangent?
Please. I'm going to mute myself and drink my water because I'm crushing all of you in this water.
You're like making me so thirsty right now. I'm just like staring at my bottle and it's empty. And I'm like, So Eric, can you come fill my water bottle? So I have been sharing some stuff as of recently, things that are either going on in my mind or self-limiting beliefs that I've had in, everything. And I've had people in my lives that have, I'm at 72. Good for you. That's a lot more than me. ADD. So people in my lives that are like, oh, well, like, hey, like, if you need help, like, why don't you be like an average person and go to counseling? Or, hey, the average person deals with this on their own. They don't share it on social media. And hey, it was just all this stuff. And my response back to this person was like, I'm just putting this out there. I'm not doing this for me. Like, I get it. Like, certain situations do need to be taken care of in a private setting or a more intimate setting. But I'm just putting it out there because that's what I'm working through on myself. And it's also kind of a pledge to the world. It sounds crazy to say, pledge to the world, to say that I am working on myself and this is what I'm doing and this is what's going on in my mind. It has a lot to do with wanting to have more of a, over Easter, it's kind of funny. We were talking about community and suicide and how suicide affects the community, right? So not on that extreme necessarily, but if if one person in your tribe is down, you need to go and you need to pick them up. And but to backtrack a little bit, a lot of the reason why I post that is because so many people do just stay quiet and they stay in their head and they have their thoughts. And just to put it out there and say like, hey, me too. Like, I'm over here. I change my clothes 3 times a day. Sometimes I haven't done a post on that. Probably I should, but, or, hey, it's a family weekend holiday and eating is, going to be difficult, but I'm going to do my best. I think that helps people more than you think it does.
I agree. Or like, I think too, like, again, in your guys' lives, you're going to have naysayers. You're going to have, and this is with like not even posting on social media in general. Like if I were to go to someone and say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, maybe moving to a new school, moving to a new state, which I've done, leaving my job, which I've done. And I had naysayers, the people who, and I feel like I've said this a lot on Zooms, but I think it's important to remind ourselves of this. The naysayers in your life are the people who love you, but project their own fear and insecurities on you because they just don't want you to fail. They don't want you to go through pain in life, which is impossible. But they just don't, they're so worried about whatever.
In the happy average.
So happy. But that hinders you. Like so many people don't go for it because of the people in their life that tell them not to. And I always say I'll never be the person to tell you that. I think everything is figure outable, again, my word. And then 2, I think you learn from making choices that may or may not serve you I think you just learn. Like you just grow and learn by making choices and making decisions. By the way, my favorite Bible verse is Proverbs 16, verse 9. A man plans his course, but God determines his steps. Like we have these plans, like we do this stuff, but like at the end of the day, like it's gonna be fine in the way that wherever we go. And then you have haters, people who genuinely don't care about you and don't love you, and they just are rude, and those are people you don't need in your life. The naysayers, those are like family probably, and like close friends. You need them in your life, but you can't listen to them. When you have like in your gut, you want to go for something that scares you, you have to make sure that you surround yourself with people. Successful people will never tell you not to, because they're working so hard and taking risks and going for it, that they would never tell you not to, because they're not worried about your failure or pain, because they know that's where you're going to grow and learn. And so that like where you seek advice is so vital, that you're seeking advice not to that mediocre thinking and that like the worry thinking. And the haters, you guys, are the people where I've had to like block people on Instagram, or I've had to like stop having certain relationships because they were toxic. They were so toxic. And then 3, yourself. Your own self-doubt can be the thing that stops you from going for it. Like your own insecurities, your own fear, your old self. You are going to be in a constant battle with who you used to be and who you're becoming. It is going to be crazy. And I can say that just from experience, where your old, who you were, like you guys are transforming and you may not even realize it yet. That old person is going to try so hard to get inside your head. Like you've been taught, bred to believe certain beliefs and values about life, about situations. And now that you're growing and transforming and starting to get excited about different things, you're going to start self-sabotaging or having those moments of like, maybe I'm being too selfish. Maybe like I shouldn't be spending so much time. Like you're going to start like combating that. I don't know about you guys, but when that starts to happen, I start to back down and back away and then become the most unproductive person in the entire world. Like where I literally would like rather go watch so much TV or stop doing whatever it is that I wanted to do. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever done that before, but that's what I do. Like if I feel I just won't work out then, right? Or like, screw it, I'm going to go eat all this instead of like be productive with being healthy. And that self-sabotage, it's like triggers, but you're up against a lot. But I think you just have to remember that this isn't about doing this perfectly. And Laura, like, I love that you are realizing that your story isn't just for you, that your story is allowing someone else to feel empowered. And I think that's why this is so important, because I think people share their stories for self-glorification. But then I think this community shares their journey in genuine desire to show someone, if I can do it, so can you. Like, that is what I believe, and that is why I share it. And you're willing to share it despite people wanting you. And that's another thing too. Like, if someone is telling you not to do something, you have to listen and see who it is. Like if someone's like, no, I don't think you should start that business, and they're broke, don't listen to them. If someone's telling you like you shouldn't go to that gym to do this, and they're overweight, don't listen to them. Like if you are wanting to move across the country and this person has never done it before, don't listen to them. Like you have to like listen to that. Like that is something that I've learned, is that I had so many people tell me not to go to California because it was so expensive, and that why would I ever want to live there? And they've never left their geographical location. I'm not about to take advice from them. I'm going to take advice from someone who's done it, and they're going to tell me straight up what it was like. Every time I sought out advice for someone who had moved across the country, they told me their first year was the hardest, but to stick it out and go for it. And guess what? My first year was the toughest, and I stuck it out and I went for it, and I don't regret it, right? So when you're seeking advice from people, make sure it's not from, like, they're not broke in that area, whatever area that is, if that makes sense. So thank you for sharing that. Rachel, were you going to share something? I saw that you unmuted yourself.
Well, to that, just so I kind of fell off like nutrition wise over the weekend, and I was really hard on myself.
Wait, did anyone else fall off track over the weekend? Nope, I did right here. Mm-hmm.
So I was even telling Laura before I was going, I was like, my family is like not good with nutrition, like they overeat, like, and like my dad, who's like really unhealthy, is like the one like, oh, you can eat that, it's fine, like just do that. And it's like I need to learn to not listen to him, because he's not the one to be giving me like nutritional advice. And like earlier I was gonna say like it is hard to work hard to get what you want, but also it's hard to stay where you are and accept like your mediocrity, as you were talking about, because I was doing that for a long time and I thought that that was like loving myself and accepting myself, and in a way it was, but I would rather love myself and accept myself and push myself than love myself, accept myself, and just stay where I'm at and just like become stagnant. Because either way it's hard. It's hard if you stay and you kind of like deep down resent yourself, and it's hard to push yourself. So like, which are you going to pick of the two? One that's going to make you better or stay the same?
Heck yeah. And you know what too, alongside with that, getting off track, like I've seen people get off track for 2 years, 6 months, 1 month, whatever, and the comeback crew is what I call them, and they come back, because I think that is like way hard when you've experienced transformation and you stop. And most people are like, oh well, I'm just gonna let it go. But those people who are like, you know what, no, like I think people are so afraid of ego or like worried about what other people think, but when people can overcome that and just do it, it is the most inspiring thing ever. And yes, I agree to that. And it's kind of the same thing too, you guys, like if you're trying to create more, I'm going to figure out a different word of balance, because again, like maybe more boundaries with work, right? More boundaries of things like that. And like when you're seeking that counsel, make sure that whoever you're doing that they have good set of boundaries with their occupation. If they are overworked, burnt out, and you're seeking advice from them, they're not going to be the ones to give it to you. And I think that's why this is an important conversation, is because you can start to identify and be like, oh my gosh, like that's so true. Like I like, you know what I mean? And so, like people who you admire that you feel like is something that you crave, that's who you need to talk to in that way, that you see a good structure. And again, I don't want to say balance, I'm going to say boundaries, good boundaries that you set up that make you the best that you can possibly be, if that makes sense. Okay, I'm going to hit done with recording.